All right, it's Monday, March 25th. This is an end of the day SPY recap. And today on the daily chart, first of all, we end up with a kind of a two down, very neutral day here that didn't follow through all that much after it opened. It didn't really rally to reverse. It doesn't give you a clear green signal, a two down, failure with a green bar that looks to go higher, but there's definitely an actionable signal to the upside tomorrow if we take out, today's high, and that kind of falls in line with the expectation that after this green weekly bar, we will likely test the high of that sometime this week. What's also interesting, as you start to kind of do what if scenarios, as we, whether or not we get up there this week or kind of hold in here, either way, when we go now to the quarterly chart, because that's coming to an end here within a few days, it looks like this is going to close green in some form, even if we have a little bit of a sell-off in the last couple of days. So that likely means sometime in the next, 3 months, we should test the high of that bar, even if we reverse. If I go back on all these quarterly bars, you could see every time you have a big green bar, you test the high, you test the high, you test the high, you test the high. Even this green bar, when it was finally ready to reverse, it first went up and tested the high and then, got below the open red, and that's where you were kind of biased to the downside. So on this type of thing, maybe we'll see how we close the quarter, but if we close kind of strong green and start up, you could, within a day or two, immediately go below the open, and this whole thing could have a big pullback. But at some point, I do expect to go higher. If we kind of close a little down on the quarter, then I think likely we'll pause and start to go up first before going lower. It is possible after a strong green bar like this, you can end up with an inside bar. But, in terms of expectations, I still think sometime within the next, 3 months, we should test those highs before forming, a red bar. And I would be more comfortable, on the sell side once a red bar is formed, like these bars, red bar form, you test the low. Even this big red bar, we came and tested the low before going higher. So even this red bar, if you thought that was a reversal, you did at least get to test that low before going above the open. So, I'm not really comfortable on the short side yet, although I could see at exhaustion risk, there could be a big failure unfolding kind of like this, but it has to kind of start first. But my main point is I think this is going to close green, and I think we should test higher sometime. And that kind of falls in line with this weekly bar kind of testing higher, and the possibility of, this pullback here as we start the week, if it wants to go a little lower, holding in the gap and maybe starting higher at some point. But the key is you have, a lot of key reference points now for the this week as well. And so for tomorrow, for example, we know we have to kind of start with an opening price action that kind of goes above whatever pre-market range there is and gives us a 2 up. That'll be the way to kind of get long. If we want to start lower, then just kind of like today, let's just see how it handles this gap in here. Anything's possible, with this week. If we want to stay inside, maybe we go down. But the exciting trades to me are still going to be ones that break back to the upside if it forms. Now today, just on the 15-minute chart, I shot some videos here. You didn't have that, you opened up with a gap down, you're below the midpoint of the prior day. I discussed how I really wasn't too excited, even though you didn't get a sell signal to take out that low. The first bar kind of held and went higher. I wasn't excited to buy that, given you're below the midpoint of the prior day. Once we kind of held in here, I discussed how I bought some calls here, reached its target, I scaled out, and I said I wouldn't be surprised if it, I was hoping it would get to the pre-market highs, but once I saw the red bar kind of reverse, that was it, coming late in the day. And as you could see, it kind of sold off right at the end. And I knew that it was a possibility. You're getting 2 pushes up below the midpoint of a prior day. That's just the way price went today. So there wasn't much in terms of opportunity, but you didn't get hurt either. And to me, this right here was the only real attempt to maybe see if you'd get a move up that sustained itself and gave us a kind of a green reversal bar, which would have definitely, made it more likely you were heading up tomorrow. It still might happen, but we'll see where the pre-market range is and how price opens. So just wanted to point out, some of these things to look for. We have the open of the week here now, which is right, kind of where price closed today. So if we go lower tomorrow, we might, have a red week starting. And if it goes down, then kind of just monitor what kind of strength might unfold. And if we can't get momentum to the downside, then price will likely turn up to test that high. So, these are some of the things to keep in mind, that we're coming to the end of the quarter. And to me, it looks like we'll end up green, which should project a little higher. We still are biased to take out the high of the previous week because it's green. And we think, normally most green bars like this one and this, they do test their highs. So we'll see if that unfolds. We have an actionable signal to the upside, and we have a good reference point, with the open of the week. If we want to start lower, we'll stick to the downside, but just know that, the bias is still in the bigger picture up, and that'll be, any failures to the downside would be very aggressive to get long, at least on a day trading basis, to test some of these higher levels. So that's what today was. Again, tricky day that it gapped down below the midpoint of the prior day, but didn't really follow through lower. And you were kind of expecting after that red bar, for it to, go a little lower, but obviously it's starting to hold in here a little bit. So we'll see if we get the 2 up tomorrow, and we'll just kind of follow price action day by day with some of these key reference points in mind and some of these contexts in mind.